Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into housing supply in NSW.
Yeah.
Specifically what it all means for all you potential first-time home buyers out there.
Right.
We've got two sources to sort of guide us today.
Okay.
The first one is the NSW government website, which lays out their plans and the funding they've got for boosting housing.
Yeah.
And the other one is a CoreLogic Australia article that analyzes recent policy proposals that impact housing across the whole country.
Right. So we're gonna try
breaking down these policies.
Yeah, break down these policies and funding announcements and really understand what they mean for the market.
And really understand.
Will they actually help you get your foot in the door?
Their potential impact on the market.
All right, let's dive in.
Okay.
So the NSW government website, it outlines a bunch of different strategies to increase housing supply.
Right.
And it's not just about building new homes.
It's not.
They're trying to tackle this from all angles.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting how much emphasis they put on infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just build houses without making sure all of the essentials are in place, right?
Right.
Things like water, sewage systems.
Yeah.
Roads.
These are all absolutely critical.
To support new housing developments.
Yeah.
Imagine buying a brand new house and you can't flush the toilet.
Oh, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
They're also aiming to speed up those notoriously slow planning assessments.
Okay.
The government has committed to releasing 30,000 home sites through rezoning.
Okay.
And approving another 32,500 from state and regionally significant applications.
So a lot of homes.
A lot of homes.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And they want to cut down the state's significant assessment times from 120 days to 100 days.
Oh, wow.
Now, whether or not this actually translates to homes being available sooner for you is another question.
Well, yeah, because a faster approval process doesn't necessarily mean that construction will magically speed up.
Right.
But it could be a good sign for developers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully that translates into more options for buyers like you.
So faster approvals might incentivize developers to start projects more quickly.
Yeah.
But construction still takes time.
It does.
And there are always unexpected hiccups along the way.
Right.
It's definitely something to watch, though, especially if you're hoping to buy soon.
Okay, let's talk money. The CoreLogic article dives into the federal government's infrastructure funding proposal.
Okay.
This one really caught my eye because it suggests a potential shift from the private sector shouldering all the responsibility to a government-developer partnership.
Interesting.
Almost like a blast from the past.
It is. This kind of model was actually more common before the 1980s.
Really?
So we might be seeing a return to a more collaborative approach to infrastructure development.
So the question everyone's asking is, will this funding actually make homes cheaper?
Right.
Because that's the dream, right?
It's going to affect you.
But I'm a little skeptical. Are we kidding ourselves?
Oh, it's definitely more complicated than just throwing money at the problem.
Right.
Think of it like a seesaw.
Okay.
On one side, you have this potential government funding, which could help offset some of the costs for developers.
Okay.
But on the other side, you have rising land prices, increasing development costs.
Oh, yeah.
And all those financing hurdles that builders face.
Right.
It's a balancing act.
So even if this funding does lower costs for developers, there's no guarantee those savings will trickle down to the buyer.
Exactly. It's important to remember that the relationship between government funding, developer costs, and ultimately the price you pay for a home is not a simple one-to-one equation.
Yeah.
There are a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. Okay, enough about NSW for now.
Right.
Let's hop over to Victoria.
Okay.
They've got some pretty bold plans in the works.
They do.
Including overriding local planning laws to allow for high-rise developments near transport hubs.
Okay.
More apartments.
More apartments equal more homes.
Right? Yeah. Problem solved.
Well, not so fast.
Okay.
You might think more apartments automatically means cheaper homes.
Right.
But the reality is a bit more nuanced.
Okay.
Take a look at Melbourne.
Okay.
Where unit values are still below their 2017 peak.
Yeah, CoreLogic pointed that out, and it definitely makes you think twice.
It does. It suggests that just building more doesn't guarantee affordability.
Right.
Especially if the development is driven by investors looking for a return.
Yeah.
Not by people like you who actually want to live there.
So it's not just about quantity, it's about who's buying and why.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, the Australian dream is still very much alive.
Right.
Census data shows that detached houses remain the overwhelming choice for families.
Yeah, so while building more high-rises might not be the silver bullet for everyone,
there
could be some benefits.
Oh, like what?
Well, imagine a scenario where these high-rise developments attract empty nesters looking to downsize. This could free up those sought-after family homes.
Okay.
Making them available to younger buyers like yourself.
Interesting. So it could create like a ripple effect in the market.
It could.
But let's face it, downsizing isn't for everyone.
Right.
And not all young buyers want to live in a high-rise.
Absolutely. It's just one piece of the puzzle.
One piece of the puzzle.
And speaking of pieces, Victoria is also offering a 12-month stamp duty concession.
Oh, yeah.
For off-the-plan townhouses and units.
Okay.
This could be a game changer for first-time buyers.
Yeah.
At least in the short term.
This sounds a lot like the home builder scheme, which we know led to a surge in first-time home buyer activity.
You did.
But what happens after the 12 months are up?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah. Will it just create a temporary boost? Or will it have a lasting impact on affordability?
Right.
And could it potentially backfire? What if this concession just inflates demand and drives prices even higher in the long run, making it harder for people who miss out on that 12-month window?
You've hit on a key concern.
Yeah.
It's a tricky balancing act.
It is.
The intention is to make homeownership more accessible.
Right.
But we have to be mindful of unintended consequences.
And CoreLogic highlighted the growing price gap between houses and units.
Yeah.
This means that units are becoming more attractive to younger buyers.
That's right.
Simply because they're more affordable.
Yeah. But even though they might be more affordable up front, there are potential long-term risks to consider.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've looked at different approaches to boosting housing supply.
Yeah.
From infrastructure investments to planning overhauls and stamp duty sweeteners.
Right.
But is simply building more the answer?
Right.
Does quality matter?
Yeah.
And what does it all mean for you?
Right.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to discuss that in part 2.
Right after the break. Welcome back.
We've been unpacking a lot of different strategies aimed at increasing the number of homes out there.
Right.
But as we've been saying, it's not as simple as just throwing up buildings everywhere, right?
Yeah.
We all want to live in places that are well-designed and comfortable and, not an eyesore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Simply increasing housing supply without thinking about quality.
Right.
And thoughtful urban planning can create problems down the road.
Yeah.
Imagine neighborhoods that are overcrowded, where the infrastructure can't keep up, or even places that lack character and charm, that feel more like concrete jungles than actual communities.
Yeah, nobody wants to live in a soulless shoebox.
No.
So how do we find that sweet spot?
Yeah.
What does a well-planned approach to housing supply actually look like?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's no single answer that fits every situation.
Okay.
But there are some key principles to keep in mind.
Okay.
It all starts with understanding the needs of the community.
Yeah.
What types of housing are in demand? Where are the jobs and transportation hubs?
Yeah.
What kind of lifestyle are people looking for?
So it's about really listening to the people who'll be living in these homes.
Exactly.
Not just dictating from above what they should want.
Absolutely. And it also means thinking about the long-term impact of our decisions.
Okay.
Are we building homes that will be adaptable to future needs?
Yeah.
Are we preserving green spaces?
Yeah.
Encouraging walkability?
Yeah.
These are crucial considerations for you as a potential home buyer.
I'm starting to see that this is way more complex than I initially thought.
Yeah.
There's so many factors to consider.
There are. And let's not forget about sustainability.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We can't keep building homes that guzzle energy and contribute to climate change.
Right.
We need to design homes that are energy efficient, promote renewable resources, and prioritize things like public transportation over endless car dependency.
Okay, so it sounds like a well-planned approach involves balancing a lot of different factors. It's not just about building as many units as possible.
Exactly. It's about finding a balance between quantity and quality.
Okay.
Between meeting immediate needs and planning for the future.
Yeah.
And between the interests of developers and the well-being of the community as a whole.
Right. And of course, we can't forget about affordability.
Right.
All these fancy plans and ideas don't mean much if you can't actually afford to buy or rent one of these new homes.
You got it.
Right.
Affordability needs to be at the forefront of all these discussions.
Okay. So we've painted a pretty good picture of what a balanced approach to housing supply should look like. Yeah. At least in theory.
Well,
but let's bring this back to you, our listener.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about buying a home someday, what are the key takeaways from all of this?
As a potential home buyer, It's so important for you to stay informed about the housing policies being implemented in your area.
Yeah, because those policies can have a huge impact on what types of homes are available, where they're located, how much they cost.
Exactly. So do your research, attend community meetings, and make your voice heard.
And don't be afraid to ask tough questions.
Yes.
Like, will this new development actually make homes more affordable for people like me? Or is it just going to benefit developers and investors?
Those are the kinds of questions we need to be asking.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the big picture of housing supply, but ultimately it comes down to your individual choices.
Yeah, everyone's housing journey is different.
Right.
Some people want that white picket fence and a backyard for their kids.
Yeah.
Others prefer the convenience and buzz of city living.
Right.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. So as you're navigating the housing market, think about what's important to you. What kind of home do you envision yourself living in? What kind of neighborhood do you want to be a part of? And what can you realistically afford?
Those are the questions that will help you find the right home for you.
Yeah.
And remember, knowledge is power.
It is.
The more you understand about how the housing market works and what factors influence it, the better equipped you'll be to make smart decisions.
So stay curious.
Stay informed.
Stay informed and stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to our housing deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have.
Policies, funding,
benefits,
potential pitfalls.
All those pesky pitfalls that always seem to pop up.
Always there.
But now I think it's time to tackle the big question.
Okay.
Is any of this actually going to make a difference?
Yeah.
Will all these efforts really lead to a better housing future?
For you?
Yeah, for all of us.
Or are we, as they say, just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic?
Ooh, that's a little dramatic.
It is a bit dramatic.
But I see your point.
Yeah.
Are we just shifting things around, or are we actually addressing the core issues that make housing so unaffordable?
Core issues, right?
Yeah.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
And a lot less clear-cut.
Okay.
Let's go back to the NSW government website for a second.
Okay.
Remember how they were talking about delivering 62,500 homes sooner?
Yeah, it sounded impressive.
Yeah.
Like they were really tackling the problem head on.
It did.
Yeah.
But when you look closely, you realize this number includes all sorts of things.
Oh.
Not just building new homes from scratch.
Okay, like what?
It also includes rezoning land.
Okay.
Speeding up planning assessments.
Right.
And providing funding for infrastructure.
So it's not just about how many houses they're building, but about making the whole process more efficient.
Exactly. And that's where the debate gets complicated.
Okay.
Some people argue that simply increasing supply without addressing other things, like demand,
speculation and investment isn't going to magically solve the affordability crisis.
It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open, right?
Exactly.
You can keep pouring in more water, but it's not going to fill up unless you plug the drain.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
If demand keeps outpacing supply, prices are going to keep rising.
Yeah.
No matter how many new homes we build.
And we can't forget about interest rates.
Oh, interest rates, right.
If interest rates are high,
yeah,
it makes borrowing money more expensive.
More expensive.
This can slow down demand a bit.
Yeah.
But it also makes it tougher for first-time buyers to get into the market.
Right.
It's a tricky situation.
It is.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Is there any hope for aspiring homeowners?
Well, I do think there's reason to be optimistic.
Okay, good.
But it's going to take a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
We need to keep working on boosting supply.
Right.
But we also need to find ways to manage demand.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice? Well, one idea is to look at policies that discourage excessive investment in housing.
Okay.
For example, we could limit negative gearing.
Okay.
Which is when investors deduct losses on their rental properties from their taxable income.
Right.
This makes investment properties more attractive.
Yeah.
But it also means there's more competition for you when you're trying to buy your first home.
Right, because investors are often willing to pay more than someone who's just looking for a place to live.
Right.
It's tough to compete with that.
Exactly. And we could also look at capital gains tax concessions.
Okay.
These are tax breaks that investors get when they sell a property.
Right.
If we reduce these concessions, it might make investing in property less attractive.
Okay.
Which could help cool down demand a bit.
Interesting. These are definitely some things to think about.
Yeah.
And what about those stamp duty concessions we were talking about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Are they actually helpful, or are they just a temporary fix that could cause problems down the road?
They can be both, to be honest.
On one hand, they make it easier for first-time buyers to enter the market,
right,
which is great.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they can also inflate demand, which, as we've discussed, can drive up prices in the long run.
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act.
So there's no easy answer.
Not really. It's going to take careful consideration, cooperation between different levels of government, and a willingness to experiment with new approaches.
Well, I think we've given you a lot to think about today.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored the complexities of housing supply, the different strategies being used to address the issue, and the ongoing debate about how to create a more affordable and sustainable housing future.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
The future of housing isn't set in stone. It's something we actively shape through our choices, the policies we support, and our collective vision.
So stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay hopeful. Because together we can create a housing market that works for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into housing supply.
Thanks, everyone.
And until next time, happy house hunting.